Welcome back to Catalan Soccer, guys. I'm Catalan Ben, and if you've clicked on this video, then you're looking to improve either a team or an individual's ability to tackle, win the ball, and be braver in trying to challenge to get possession back. So in this video, we're going to look at tips, drills, and techniques that will help your kids battle for the ball more often and try and be more resilient when trying to win the ball. Now, being a combative player is not something that always comes naturally to kids, but it is absolutely something that you can train, you can try and condition kids to improve on, and you can make them more willing to try and fight for the ball. It's not an overnight process. It's not something that will just come very, very quickly, but it will be something that you can train over a long period of time where you put the time in with your players, whether that's in groups or individually. You can do this in one-to-one sessions, you can do this in group sessions, but I promise you, you will see results with some of these methods. So the first drill that we're going to look at here is with two players that are stood opposite each other and are ready to battle for the ball. I usually use a pancake or a spot marker to make sure the kids are stood in the right place. That's where the ball goes, and they're going to place their weak foot next to the ball. They're going to open the inside of their foot to be facing the ball, and we're going to start with a couple of different things. First of all, we're going to start in the handshake position. That's where both players, not only are they holding hands as a little bit of sportsmanship before they start the battle, just to say good luck, but it also means that they're close to the ball, the proximity is correct, and they start nice and close. To begin with, all we're doing is just working on the timing and trying to get both players to very softly just make impact with the ball with the inside of the foot. That's going to be on a 3, 2, 1 countdown. And then they make contact with the inside of the foot and the ball, hopefully at the same time. After kids start to do this and they build a bit of trust in each other, they build the ability to try and synchronize their touches. Then what we're going to look at doing is start to increase the power. So now we're going to ask the kids to battle for the ball and try and make contact with it, but try and be stronger and harder than the other player. Do make sure that kids are wearing shin pads and ideally not wearing studs when they're doing these types of drills, just in case of any bad contact, but they're going to aim for the equator in the center of the ball. They're going to make steady contact on a countdown, 3, 2, 1, bang, and hit the ball. Now, your session will feel quite fun. The kids will get a little bit giddy. It's a nice fighting element to the session that the kids should enjoy. Most of the time, the ball will start to spill. So when the ball spills out to the left or the right, it goes forwards, it goes backwards. You can then start to bring in different elements to the session. So then we can look at goal scoring. We can look at chasing. We can look at keeping possession in a King of the Ring style game where a kid's got to hold on to the ball until the end of a countdown. That might be 5 seconds, might be 10 seconds. So let's start with a 3, 2, 1. Make the contact and then chase the ball down and hold on to it for as long as you can or until the coach says stop. These kind of combative elements to the session will really help encourage your kids to do it in a fun way that's safe, but it is making sure that kids are making lots of contact. Now, for this drill, you are trying to partner up kids that are both using the same foot. So if you've got two right-footed players, they will use the inside of their strong foot for the battle, or two left-footed players will work well. It doesn't work quite the same for a left footer and a right footer. So please make sure that it's two kids of the same foot battling against each other. Now, with these battles, what we're looking for is kids to really show some resilience and to keep fighting for the ball. So if they lose the first contact, a main coaching point is that you carry on battling for the ball until that countdown is finished or until the ball's in the back of the net, whatever the climax of the session is. But make sure that kids don't give up just because they lost the first battle. Sometimes you've got to fight 3 or 4 battles to eventually get the ball. The next drill that we do, the ball starts again on the spot marker. We can still start up with that handshake position just for the good sportsmanship. But now both players start with their feet hips width apart and the ball's in front of them just inside their reach. So kids are now on your command of go. They're going to reach out, try and pinch the ball with the sole of the foot and try and exit as quickly as possible. It's a quick drag turn. So they're going to do 2 things. They're going to react fast and try and grab the ball. And then they're going to react if they don't get the ball to try and battle back for it, whether that's to keep the ball within a certain area, whether that's to break over a line, whether that's to get the ball and score. But you're trying to encourage the kids to very quickly try and steal the ball from their opponent and then either score the goal or keep the ball. The next drill we're going to look at is combative races. So these are races to the ball, sometimes to try and score, sometimes to try and get there first, but most importantly, we're going to encourage contact. I always coach kids to not just take contact from other players, but to make contact with other players. So if you're making contact, you are getting your arm across the front of people, you are using your shoulder and your body and your strength, you're leaning into people rather than leaning away from people, and that will really help, especially when kids are racing towards the ball. So usually with a race, like in the Olympics, kids will start in one lane or another lane and they're just making a dead straight dash towards the ball or a goal or an end zone. But in this race, we are going to start with both kids very close together, in the same lane. Start them where they're already making contact. So I like to start kids where they've already got their arm across each other. They're already starting the contact before the race even begins. And then you can use either a whistle or a shout. It can just be a race to a certain line, but they're going to try to use their body to gain an advantage, either get in front or stay in front. Now we can start to bring the ball in. So when we're doing combative races, this could be round a curve or a circle. It could be in a straight line, but now we're going to bring the ball in to try and give them a reason to keep chasing and keep fighting. So what I like to do is get both kids facing forwards. They are not looking back over the shoulder to see where the ball's coming from. They've got their arms across each other and they're facing the finish line and they're ready to race. It's then a reactive game where the ball's going to get thrown either over the shoulder, it might get rolled between the feet, it might come down the sides, but the kids don't know when the ball's coming. So it's a quick reaction, stay in front and try and score a goal. Get there first, get there fast, and hopefully finish. First, fast, finish. If they don't get there first, then the next job is to stop their opponent scoring. Again, a big part of a combative element. Make sure the kids understand it's not all about them having to score. It's about making sure that if they don't score, then neither does their opponent. And we make sure that if you can't score, we stop the opponent scoring. That's through battles, through tackles, putting your body on the line, sliding, getting in front of people, slowing them down, using your body. All these things are really going to help, and make sure that is a really big part of your coaching points. It's not just about the goal. It's not just about the race. It's about that combat and that contact. So guys, the next thing we're going to look at is equipment that can help your players battle for the ball. Now, this is one of my favorite pieces of equipment. There's not actually a football piece of equipment at all, but it's the rugby tackle pad. So these rugby tackle pads can be extremely good for encouraging kids to fight and battle for the ball. They're soft, but they're hard enough that you can put a little bit of pressure onto a kid and make sure that they're battling for it, but they're also not going to hurt anybody. They're soft enough and pliable enough that nobody's going to take any damage. If you can't afford one of these, because they can be relatively expensive, you can also use a yoga ball. Anything that is a high amount of resistance that the kid can push against, but is soft enough to make sure there's no damage, would be really good. So I've seen yoga balls used, I've seen rugby tackle pads used. We've got these Catalan branded ones that we got specially made, but you might just be able to borrow some from your local rugby team where you don't need them for that long. You maybe don't need to purchase them, but reach out to a local rugby team and see if they can lend you some for a couple of sessions. But I promise you, if you're using these types of pieces of equipment with kids that are usually a little bit reluctant, they're not usually going to make contact, you don't want to be doing it with an adult against a child, or maybe kids are just a little bit scared of getting hurt, these can really help encourage kids to make contact when previously they wouldn't. So here's a drill on how to use this soft equipment. So we're going to start with a player that's got their back to goal. There's a line behind the coach that player is trying to break over, and they're going to try and force the coach back by adopting a low position. They're going to sit down slightly, lean into the pressure, and then they're going to slowly walk the coach backwards. The coach is just putting up a little bit of resistance to slow them down, and the kid is not throwing the head back. They're just going to push back with their back, with their hips, with their knees, and try and force the coach backwards. After we've done a few versions of this, and we try to push the coach back, then we're going to do it with a ball at the feet. So we're going to see if a kid can control a ball and drag the ball with them as they try and encourage that backwards movement and push the coach as far back as possible. Then we can do the same types of things where players are receiving the ball. So player A passes the ball into player B. Player B has got the coach at their back. They're making contact. They're leaning in. They're not just standing next to the coach. They're pushing into them and they're making some physical contact. Then as the ball comes in, they can spin, turn and go score, but make sure the contact happens before the ball arrives. The next mini drill we can do is all about blocking shots. So a big part of physicality is not just making contact with other people, but it's putting your body in the way of the ball. So this is a really simple drill, but it's a really fun one and kids really enjoy it because it's all about trying to block the shots. What we're going to do here is a very basic setup. You can see here I've got one player who is behind the white line. I've got another player who is in front of the white line, and the attacking player has got the ball. The attacking player is not allowed to break the white line, and neither is the defending player. So this is a game of sliding across the pitch. The kid's going to start from a fairly central area. They're going to move the ball left or right. They're going to try and fake and shimmy and essentially just try to open up a space to hit the shot. The defender's job is just to slide left and right, try and stay in front of the ball and be brave enough to outstretch their leg and try and block the shot. For very skillful, very tricky players, they might be able to get their shots away very quickly or very easily. They might even force the ball into the weak foot to be a little bit less predictable. But the main focus here and the main actual coaching point is all about the defender. You're going to be saying things like, great block. I love how you anticipated. You put your body on the line. You stopped the goal. You kept a clean sheet for your team. And all those little parts of it are very important. We refocus the session. We redirect the vocabulary of the coaches towards the defender and what they're doing well, not the attacker. Then what I like to do is do this in a point scoring system. So it can be that the attacking player, if your shot gets blocked, you become the defender. Or it could be that the red team send in a blocker every single time. The yellows are the attackers. And whoever scores the most goals wins. So reds get a turn at everybody defending. Then we swap over and yellows get a turn at defending. And we'll see which team managed to keep the most goals from being scored. And the final part of the video, guys, the part that's really going to help coaches to get their head and get the kids into this mindset, is to explain that strength and being strong is a mindset. It's not a physical attribute for kids at the ages that we're talking about. If your kids are under the age of 14, 15, then I guarantee that they are not in the gym, they are not doing bicep curls, they are not physically building their strength yet. So what that means is actually it's a pretty level playing field. And most kids that they're playing up against don't have a huge amount more strength than your child. But the child that you're working with, or the kids that you're trying to improve in terms of their combative resilience, in terms of putting their body on the line, in terms of using and making contact rather than taking contact, there's not that big a difference between the kids that are doing it and the kids that aren't. The main thing is the mindset. Are they thinking the right things? Have they been told the right things? Are they in a brave mindset? I'm going to battle. I'm going to fight for absolutely everything. I'm going to be tough to beat, rather than trying to think that you have to be tough. Now, when we get into adult football and we've got players like Traore who've got huge amounts of physical strength and they're playing against a small, slight left back that could be very, very physically outmatched, that's a different game and a different conversation. When we're talking about two 9-year-olds, where one's just slightly taller than the other, but he really puts his body on the line, he throws himself into everything, he makes loads of contact, and he's got that brave and bold mindset to win the ball, then even though his physical strength is only a little bit more than the other player, his mental strength is so much higher that he's going to win most of the battles. So get every boy, get every girl battling for the ball, doing these types of drills where contact is really important. And once kids start to make contact more, they will grow in confidence. They'll realize that they don't get hurt as often as they think they're going to do, that they can win battles against players that they didn't think, and that they are actually stronger than they first thought. I hope that video was useful for you guys. Hopefully you've picked up some tips, some drills, and most importantly, the mindset that we need to create for our players. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.